Hello everyone, today is a translated video of Templario, which is a continuation of the previous video about the collapse of civilization in India. If you haven't seen the previous video, please take a look at the previous video. How have we been colonized in this world after a catastrophic flood? This video touches on the topic of pre-flood construction and photography. Let's start with this first photo. This photo looks exactly like what we have seen in the prints and paintings with ruins by Pyrenees, the ruin school. There is already a stone building in this photo. You can immediately tell that it is strong and sturdy. The first thing you'll notice is the Gothic arch. However, only the top part is visible. The rest is submerged in water. It is clearly not high enough, and that part is buried in water. Also, in this picture, there are already traces of life after the flood. A wooden hovel is built on top of this stone structure. And you can see that it was created using things that were around. If you look a little higher up, there are multiple floors. This multi-story building shows that very high water levels were rushing through it. The reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is because you can see that the water level was actually rising to a very high point there. The bottom of the multi-story wooden barracks is raised with wooden pillars. In this way, they were able to cope with high water levels. What is interesting about this photo is that the entire landscape appears to be shrouded in fog or smoke. This gives the impression that this landscape is an empty place, and there is a lone tree like this one standing. There are straight roads there, but it gives the impression that an incredible number of people have disposed of all the garbage in this place all at once. It looks as if some kind of construction equipment was then used to flatten the land. This is a real modern road, with good guardrails and curves. If you look closely at this, you'll also notice that it's probably asphalt. I am seriously sharing this information with you. It's no different from our current roads. The plants are still barely grown. The monument-like thing in the middle of this triangular piece of land seems to be the top of some kind of building buried underground. A river can be seen in the distance, and many boats are moored there. However, there are no people in the photo, and virtually everything is abandoned. However, everything is in place. It's as if someone had carefully prepared the place before people colonized it. The work is done so carefully. This photo of Calcutta struck me with its extreme cleanliness. This town looks exactly like a European town, with buildings made of stone. There are no wooden buildings. Look, there are no buildings made of wood anywhere. Everything is made of stone. And how wonderfully were these buildings constructed here? There is a flat road with no traffic. There are also a large number of antique buildings. It could be a dome or a tower. And once again, the plants are barely growing. It looks as if the trees were planted quite recently. These conditions are as if someone has carefully prepared and maintained this place. This is in advance for people to move to this place. These include towers and protective structures. It is as if the whole situation is waiting for new residents to take up residence. Another view of this same town. Tents are set up here. It seems that people who live here temporarily are staying overnight. It seems like these are not people who have moved here, but people who came here to clean up this town. Here you can also see a well-maintained and cleaned reservoir. This maintenance was completely done by humans, so it is completely impossible that the pond was formed naturally. What can you see in this photo? Small traces of life remain here. There are probably some people here. We will have to analyze this in more detail later. The only thing I don't understand is what the purpose of these specially divided areas of land is. You can see the roofs of the houses in front of you. It seems as if the town, which had been submerged under water until then, is now opening up. Look, there are signs of water erosion on the building here. Dirty walls and, for some reason, shades to cast shadows from the sun. It seems that something was wrong with the lighting adjustment. It's as if the sun was different than it is now. It seems likely that the power of the sun to scorch the Earth's surface was incomparable to what it is today. This photo appears to have been taken before the onset of the winter season. I don't think there is any need to explain that winter is not actually a natural phenomenon. The presence of shades to protect the interior from sunlight can be seen everywhere. Even old photographs of Moscow show this situation. For example, There were shades similar to the one in this photo in the Kremlin and on the main streets in the center of Moscow. Is there anything else you are concerned about? There's nothing inside, just windows with no glass. It seems as if this was done intentionally to allow air to pass through the interior of the building. You can see that the outside appearance of the surrounding area is dirty everywhere. How on earth were they able to dig up these buildings? This is another question. You can see cows grazing here. It is thought that these were used to process milk, meat, and leather to make clothes and shoes. It seems that there were beings who had made plans in advance about how to organize human life, to repopulate this place, to start the cycle of life again here. In this photo, it looks as if all the soil on the land is wet. It looks like it's a mixture of clay and water. Despite this, in other places the water looks as if it hasn't been there for a very long time. It's like there was a drought. Well, when the flood ends, the water is absorbed into the sand and the clay is left on top of the land, where it hardens and becomes hard. Its condition is rock-like. When the land becomes dry like this, dust storms occur. If you think about it, in the photos you've seen so far, it may not be fog, but a sandstorm like that occurring in the surrounding area. There is a stone embankment here that seems to have been built to prevent landslides. Clay and sand together can cause landslides. When that happens, all the living spaces will be filled. Therefore, embankments like this are essential. Look at the distant view as well. What you see there is what looks like a sandstorm or something like that. Although there are only a few people, there is a lot of mud scattered around. The building is preserved in very good condition. However, the walls are dirty and the building itself looks solid. You can even see part of the staircase here, and it looks like they're trying to dig it out. What exactly is this structure? This is probably some kind of dome-shaped atmospheric energy generator. And these were probably still in operation at this time. The appearance of multiple antennas and other strange devices attached to the buried building raises questions. This bank reminds us of the streets on the banks of the Neva in Petersburg. Petersburg's granite riverbank also has a spherical monument and a similar staircase. The beautifully decorated arches are in excellent condition. And it appears that the building's original technology is still in operation. The impression I get from these photos is how much of the technology of previous civilizations has been preserved. It seems that there was also a system that supplied energy there. The castle-like building is in perfect condition, with the tower, antenna, and everything else still there. And how big are these buildings? Perhaps the size of this building seems huge, far removed from our average human sense of size. Once again, there are dirty walls. It looks like they have already been cleaned or covered in mud. All stairs, etc. are in perfect condition. But the windows are filled. This is a common situation. Also, the distance here is such that the trees can be observed closely. Look at the trunk of this tree. This trunk is very thin. In other words, this tree is very young. It is the city of Lucknow. The antenna installed on the tower immediately attracts attention. Here you can see a hedge made of wood. Debris is left behind next to the collapsed building. Look at the thick walls of this building. How on earth was it possible to destroy such a thick wall? What matters is what kind of tools you use. Such destruction would not have been possible with the gunpowder shells of the time, as stated in official history. Naturally, this remains a question. This is a palace, complete with etheric energy resonance devices and equipment. These are all in working condition. Ladies and gentlemen, how do you think people in the Middle Ages were able to build such incredible structures? Also, this is a photo of the shore. Here it looks like a completely submerged castle. It looks like there is a layer of clay covering it. The stairs look like they were installed after the disaster. This is to go down from here. From the looks of it, this castle building should be located much higher up. However, most of this building is buried under soil. And here we see something similar to what you see everywhere. These ancient buildings have certain rules. It is a pyramid-shaped foundation. Pay particular attention to the corners of the slope. This tilt is approximately a 45-degree angle. The ditch is covered with water. Here, the streetlights seem out of place. It is clearly a mechanism that shines in the ether. The castle is Gothic. Everyone, please take a look. This is the central entrance, and this is an authentic medieval Gothic gate. What's the difference between the buildings of India and those of France, England, and Germany, for example? Everything is exactly the same. But why does the town seem so full of chaos? Perhaps after some catastrophic disaster, all these towns were submerged in water or buried in mud. And people didn't just dig them up, they probably built something again. What we see in these photos is probably not that ancient.
These were probably created during some kind of transitional period.
All of these buildings have been exposed to catastrophe and have suffered damage from fire, water damage, or mud buildup. And they repeated these steps over and over again to rebuild. This is because most of the town was buried and only the tops of the buildings were dug out. It was then cleaned for colonization. And finally, here's what the Himalayas look like. This photo shows what appears to be the remains of a destroyed building. Look, it's a straight line. It's angular. This is clearly an artifact. It is a technologically constructed object and cannot be created naturally. This is Kashmir. First, look at the trees. These trees are large enough and well cared for. And the trees that are being planted. This road is well maintained and has sidewalks on the sides. Everything is straight and in good order. It's as if all of this was arranged with some kind of construction equipment. When you hear such an explanation, you may at first feel that you are talking about complete nonsense. You may think that building a straight road and planting trees straight along its side is a simple task. In our time, that may actually be the case. However, in order to actually perform this type of work, it is necessary to have a very detailed knowledge of surveying. And a professional surveying measuring machine is required. It is necessary to make accurate markings and level the ground accordingly. Without such technology, the outcome of the resulting road would be completely different. It's roughly like this. However, for some reason, I don't think the people in this photo had any surveying knowledge or equipment. And this is a photo of Kashmir as well. These buildings and the level of civilization seem to match the intellectual level of the people at that time. The houses are made of wood and the mud is not treated. With houses like this, it makes sense that these people built them. But by all accounts, this is not it. This concludes today's translation video.
未来へと紡いでく人をより集めて戻し引き裂いた嘘だらけの地平線よ愛せ許すな今を生きてる美しい月の音波の輝きさえ惑わしの世界の飾りでしかないと真実を求めてさまよい歩く道見知らぬ誰かたちが笑いかけて消えるどこまで行けばたどり着けるのあがき苦しみ抜いて自分を壊せすべて疑えと光はささやくけど足の指に食い込む砂を取り払って歩く新世界本物を見抜いてみせるララルララル我を導け魂心体ここにある現実闇に埋もれ眠るは隠された口実差し出された甘い罠を一つ 壊してこの海の向こう空の彼方伏せられた歴史と見えぬ未来本物を見抜いてみせるララルララル我を導けこの山の向こう壁の彼方必ず見えてくるガッドアースナイル川を照らす太陽愛せ許すな